Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another episode of South of Cheddar Curtain. As always, it's your boy, Devin Hine, sitting across the Skype screen from the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Lucas Mueller himself. You want to start with the folks, Luke?
Hello, folks.
Folks, it is April 7th, 2025. We are officially in the month of the NFL draft. So Luke and I, we're not quite ready for our mock draft episode. That'll be probably coming next week. But what we're going to hit you with today is some wide receiver talk, folks, because it's Green Bay. First rounds in Green Bay, always talking about how they don't get a wide receiver weapon. And maybe this will be the year that we fix that by taking a receiver in the first round.
Yeah, probably not.
Agreed, honestly.
Probably not. But I think wide receiver is a fun one because, look, we're not pros, right? This isn't all we do with our lives. So breaking down offensive lineman film is A, challenging, B, not super fun, I find. So give me a skill position. I love to watch those and kind of see what I can see a little bit. So I'm excited to talk about some wide receivers. We clearly have a need, a relatively specific need, perhaps, but we have a need. This is maybe a deepish class. I think there's a lot of talent in the first three-ish rounds, so I'm excited to kind of get into it and hear your thoughts.
Amen. Let's get to it. But before we enter,
oh God,
before we enter talking about these wide receiver prospects, we added a young talented receiver in free agency, didn't we, Lucas?
We did. We added one, Mecole Hardman.
Cole Hardman. Feels like he's been in the league for a long time Chief. Bounced to the Jets, bounced back to the Chief. Did catch a Super Bowl winning touchdown pass a couple of years back, right?
He did, yeah.
Pretty big deal. Cole Hardman is like on a 1 year, $2 million deal, like real bargain bin free agent.
Cheap guy. We got him for cheap, which is good because he hasn't really been super productive recently the last several years.
I think he had 80 yards receiving last season.
Not great. So this is not our true Christian Watson replacement, right? This is not a one-for-one swap. This is a depth signing that can probably help us on special teams.
Yeah, a lot of talk that good chance he can take over the kick return game for Keyshawn, which, I mean, Keyshawn's saying is going to be CB1. He wants to focus on that anyways. Okay, that works. And then this is a player who has a lot of speed, not quite the vertical speed that we would want. Like you said, he's not going to be a Christian Watson replacement despite his 40 time, but he's someone that we can definitely move around in gadget situations. You know, you can take some snaps in the slot. You can do jet reverses, almost like throwback a few years ago, Tavon Austin, Tyler Ervin. Like, he can actually do that and maybe give you some vertical upside. I mean, he has not shown success to this point in his career in being able to just complete those plays, but speed-wise, he can completely win vertically. It's not a question of athleticism.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got that in spades, and he's a smaller guy, right? So obviously we're not talking about one of these tall, strong, fast wide receivers that the Packers love, but he kind of fills the Bo Melton role, but potentially better at some of those things, right? He's better on special teams. He's more likely to give you a little juice out of the backfield or on a sweep or something. But he kind of fills that same small, speedy threat, but not necessarily your deep threat role.
Agreed. But it's still a nice piece to, add to the room.
Absolutely.
No risk, all reward. And honestly, if we cut him, doesn't even matter. It's $1 million. Well, for the Packers, $1 million.
I don't even think we owe him that if we cut him. I think we owe him like $150,000 or something, the way the contract's structured. But yeah, and he's also a veteran presence that's been in Super Bowls, has been on nothing but winning teams except for the little foray into the Jets. So, good guy to have around.
All right, now we can go to the prospects.
Let's do it.
Who you want us to go in order? All right, I guess we're going in order.
Yeah, might as well. At least, okay, so we should preface this. This is not our order necessarily.
Correct.
This is the order of, I think you found this on CBS Sports.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, when Luke was like, we're talking receivers, I'm like, oh, okay, so I'll go find the list of the top ones. And he said, send it over. So we're going with this wonderful list that I found.
I think it covers most of the guys, I would say. Like, I'm not too surprised with any of these names. So I feel good about who's on here.
And I'm a little mad at you because you're going to make me say some of these names. And you definitely watch a lot more college football than I do. So this whole thing about like me usually giving you a hard time for mispronouncing names is going to come back and bite me in the ass.
Here, I'll help you out with the first one. Everyone calls him Tet.
Yeah, Tet McMillan. He is a 6'4" junior receiver out of Arizona. He is pretty much, I would say, nearly unanimously thought of as the receiver with the highest upside in this draft. He's your typical, like, 6'4", height, speed, not necessarily weight, which I think is where some of the concerns come in. The comparisons that I saw were Drake London. I see a little bit of Martavius Bryant without necessarily having a pop problem, but he's got good height. He's a little lanky, and plus, reports have come out that he doesn't watch film.
So, okay, just real quick, that video came out, right? And that was his freshman year, by the way. So he was 19. Like, let's give him a little slack. And but I'm just explaining it. I'm explaining to the people, okay? Video came out where he was talking, someone videotaped him, like his friend or whatever, talking about how he doesn't watch film outside of practice or outside of, like, the football area. He's not doing it in his dorm room by himself, which is a 19-year-old kid who just, led the team in receiving. Not super surprised there, but I think that's not necessarily something to be too concerned about at this point. He probably picked up better habits as he went along. He was super productive all 3 years in college. He's a true junior, which is pretty rare. Didn't redshirt or anything. True junior, dominated freshman, sophomore, junior year, came out. So I'm not super concerned about like the work ethic aspect of it. But that is something to talk about, right?
Realistically, I mean, the purpose of the show is we're talking about the top wide receiver prospects, and I think that for each one of these players, we should mention the likelihood the Packers would draft them, and just even based upon draft position alone, like there's no way that we take this guy. But I
don't know.
I don't think he falls. I don't think he falls to us. There's too many wide receiver hungry teams to let him get there. Even if you want to say one of the Texas boys or the next guy on our list is, the number one receiver instead, which few people have argued, but I've seen it argued that there are other guys that are better than him. There's no way that he makes it to what, 23? What are we, Luke? 23? Yeah, I doubt it.
I doubt it as well, but I could see him going high teens, get to 20. We maybe do if we wanted him, trade up situation. Now, Goody did go to his pro day, so that is something to take note of. Just kind of some of the notes I have on from watching him a little bit. Just a couple minutes each guy, right? We're not we work real jobs. We don't have time to do hours and hours and hours and hours. But strong hands, right?
Hey,
he has some.
Speak for yourself on the off days. All right, continue.
Fair enough. Strong hands, which is interesting because he did have some concentration drops, but very, very strong hands. Good at high pointing the ball. Incredible acrobatic catches. Some of the best catches you saw all year were him this last year. One-handed, Moss and guys. He's got all that in his bag. It's the consistency of it, which is not necessarily great. He made a lot of plays off schedule, so he can kind of adjust to where the ball is in the air or a lot of scramble drills. Offensive line didn't look too good for Arizona this last year. Kind of an average yards after catch guy, I would say. He's tall and strong, and I'm not going to call him fast, but he's not slow. But he doesn't really have any wiggle, not a ton of wiggle to him, so he just kind of relies on his size and semi-speed to get some of that yak, try to run away from guys or at least hold them away. I put down average long speed, so I think he's kind of got one gear. He's not really running away from people. He in his 40 time was 4.55, so he's listed at 6'4", 219 off this website roughly. It's amazing how these guys shrink or grow depending on where you look or even who measure them, right? So like the Senior Bowl has different measurements than the Combine. It's like, guys, these are like a month apart. You didn't grow 2 inches. It's not how that works. But he's got the same, a little spoiler alert, he's got basically almost the exact same 40 time as Trey Harris, who we're going to talk about later. They don't look the same speed at all on tape, so that's interesting. So average long speed, kind of a long strider, but he's kind of a one-note speed. There's no extra gear to kick it into to run away from the defense, which leads to a lot of contested catch situations, which is fine because he's good at it, but not a huge separator. And I put below average quickness. He's not going to make you miss in a phone booth. A guy that size, hard to find to do that anyways. But overall, good receiver, right? So my comps, Drake London, I put him down, who had similar concerns coming out of college with separation and how are they going to win at the next level. They got great size, but what are they going to do with it?
Yeah,
Drake
being
London's
6'4".
figured it out. Yeah, Drake London's figured it out, right? And Tet McMillan, I think, could use some of the similar big slot situations. I mean, he's an ex-receiver, but I think you could use him as a big slot, kind of like we historically did with like Alan Lazard at times and stuff like that. Just kind of find open space for him that way as a big possession receiver. And also some of the acrobaticness without being an outstanding athlete reminded me a little bit of DeAndre Hopkins, actually, which is not a comp I see for him ever. And I'm not saying like one-to-one athlete makes sense or whatever, just some of the back shoulder, one-handed type of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay. If you can turn into that'll work at the NFL level.
High praise, sir. High praise. And as always, masterful analysis out of you, sir.
And I'm not saying he's going to turn into that. Obviously, most of my comps are, if I have them for a person, are going to be like really good players. That's just like, if everything goes well, this is the kind of shades of this guy that I see, right? I'm not going to say he's turning into D-Hop, but he could, right? He could. We'll see.
Number 2 on the list, Luther Burden III, wide receiver out of Mizzou, only a junior, 6 foot, 205, as recorded by our wonderful CBS website. Thank you. Seen a few different comps for this young man. I've seen Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
I've seen DJ Moore, which, I mean, that speaks something to you. I know it does. But my favorite one was an NFC National Scout said he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown's hands and toughness.
Okay.
This guy, I also wrote down spin cycle because he makes people look stupid in open field.
Yep.
I mean, he's definitely a get the ball in his hands, good things are going to happen. You know, a relatively somewhat condensed build at only 6 foot, but he's got the juice and he can take a hit. I really liked what I saw to Luther Burden III.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And something that I kind of try to think about with each guy is what level of the field do they attack, or did they attack in college? And do they have the ability to do the same or more at the next level? So Tet McMillan was a lot of like second and third level, meeting a lot of like 10 to 20 yard plays and then a lot of 30 plus yard plays. Luther Burden was used at Mizzou, which is, you know, Mizzou's fault primarily. It's pretty much a level 1. Like, he wasn't going deep a ton, right? They weren't using him at the second level a ton. They were just doing whatever they could to get the football in this man's hands because he was so electric after the catch. Like, first note was just yak, yak, yak. This dude is going to make the first guy miss every single time, which is something that I've found that I really like in wide receivers, kind of that Jaden Reed ability. Devontae very much go about it very differently, but had a similar vibe there to just the first guy doesn't have a chance, right? And I really enjoy that in a receiver skill set. In Luther Burden, the first guy doesn't have a chance. Second guy doesn't really have a chance. Like, the third guy's got a shot, maybe. Like, incredible. They used him on a ton of sweeps, screens. They used him almost at times kind of like routes you'd run, like from the slot drag routes type of thing that you'd run with a tight end type to just lose him in the mix, and then all of a sudden he's running 20 yards up the sideline because everyone's gone. They used him out of the backfield to run swing passes. Like, whatever they could do to get this man the ball is what they did. Now, that leads questions to, what does the route running look like when he has to run an actual route tree, right? Because he didn't really have to. They just kind of gave him the ball however they could. He's quick enough for it, it seems like. He's got good long speed at 4.41, and he plays fast. Super strong. I mean, like you said, 6 foot, 205. Dude's kind of reminds me of DJ Moore's pretty good. DJ Moore's pretty good. I like that.
And you love DJ Moore, bro.
I do love DJ Moore. I do love DJ Moore. So if he turns into DJ Moore, I am a happy camper. Actually, I really like that. Kind of like a skinny Debo situation before they gave him the football out of the backfield as much. Like, before you knew he was a running back type vibe.
Yeah.
I can see some of that there. But he's, in shape, unlike Debo Samuel. But DJ Moore, I like DJ Moore. I think he's got that. I really like watching Luther Burden. He's so much fun. And like I said, that first guy just does not stand a chance trying to tackle this man. Incredible yards after catch. And I think there's a lot there. I really do. I think there's a lot of potential there. He meets all the Packers' criteria. They do have unofficially some criteria for size and speed and stuff like that. He meets it. Ted McMillan meets it as well. But yeah, no, he's a really fun player. He'd be fun to have.
Again, I don't think he'll be there when we pick, but
I think he might be, honestly. I don't think these wide receivers are going to go flying off very quickly. I actually think the next guy we're talking about could be wide receiver 1. Not that I agree. I just could see it happening.
well, I mean, sir, you know what they say on the highways, my boy. Speed kills. And that is a golden transition into our third receiver, Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of, I believe, Texas.
Yeah, by way of Houston. Started his career at Houston.
He's 5'11", 199, ran a 4.29 40-yard dash. That is blazing. The most popular pro comp that I saw was Chris Olave. I know that both of these Texas receivers are burners, and that's where I stop on him. So you take over.
Okay. Well, I'll just off all that, I will say, big note is the tape doesn't show 4.29. He's a fast receiver. He gets behind the defense. The tape shows more like what his buddy Isaiah Bond ran, which was like 4.4, 4.39, 4.4, whatever it was. Fast receiver, he doesn't seem elite speed to me. Elite. He's not Jameson Williams. He's not that level. Xavier Worthy. Obviously, Xavier Worthy ran faster than him, but he's not in that tier of pure speed, I don't think. He does meet our criteria size-wise. He's the smallest guy on this list, but he does meet it. Or second smallest, I should say. Next was his Texas brother. I put down he is used a lot at the first and third level. You don't see a lot of deep outs, deep ins, crossers, that kind of thing. Get the ball in his hands quickly on some whip routes, short hitches, quick outs where he can use his speed and acceleration to create separation in the short area, or they bomb it to him. Now, Quinn Ewers was not the greatest quarterback at connecting on a lot of those bombs at Texas.
Oh, no.
So that's not great, but the guy does have speed, plenty of speed. Like I said, he plays more like a mid to high 4.3 guy, I think, which, if I remember right, is kind of what Chris Olave ran. So that seems pretty decent, if I remember correctly. He plays bigger than his listed size when the ball's in the air, I believe. You know, he can go up and get it a little bit because he's not a huge guy, but he can do a little something. He's a red zone threat, which is weird given his size, but they used a lot of his quickness and speed. Like I said, that's where a lot of the whip routes, the quick outs, all that kind of stuff when they notice man coverage to get him open in a very short amount of time, so he doesn't have to moss people or anything like that, but to get him open. And then not really a yards after catch guy. I mean, he doesn't really have a ton of wiggle. He's got speed, so any yak he did have was just due to him running away. But he's not going to make you miss in a phone booth with his short area quickness or strength or stiff arm or anything like that. So the yak's kind of got to be open runway yak. He's not going to be Luther Bird and make you miss and then kind of stiff arm you. He's not going to do that. So, yeah, Chris Olave, a lot of the Ohio State guys. Garrett Wilson, I could see a little bit. Maybe a little Stephon Diggs. Is somewhere in that realm is kind of where I could see him ending up. All three good deep threats, but not the elite version of that like he ran. That's a surprising 40 to me. Really is. Dude's fast. He would fill that hole for us 100%. The deep threat role. But not quite the Xavier Worthy, Jameson Williams burner that I think people want him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's only natural that when you see how those two players have really changed their offenses, understandably so, with MVS, the MVS talks, like people already know where I'm going. You pull the safeties back, open up things underneath, and if you don't respect it, you make them pay. How everyone's looking for the next piece, and then I think there's a little bit of autocorrect in our brain, like, oh, this is one of the fastest receivers in this draft. He's going to be as good as Jameson. Maybe not.
No, and very good wide receiver. He can do some of everything. And I think those comps, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, those are people that can use their speed, but it isn't their only trick, right? Those are good, well-rounded wide receivers who happen to be very fast.
To number 4 we go. Another Ohio State wide receiver. Big surprise. A lot of them these days.
Every year, man.
Emeka Egbuka? Did I say
Nailed
that
it.
right?
Yeah, nailed it.
Ooh, thank you, folks. We back. 6'1", 202 out of Ohio State, as I said, a senior. Redshirt, Lucas?
I don't think so. I think he might be a true senior. He's been around forever,
senior.
it feels like. I think so.
Yeah, this name is not new to me. Well, I mean, saying it, but like I've seen it in, college football stuff. Regardless. The comp that I see for him is JSN, who I believe also went to Ohio State.
Yeah, similar. I can see that a little bit.
For him, I wrote vision, smart, spacing. Okay. He's not a burner. He's got fine speed. And I know I said JSN, but honestly, the better comp for him, he's just a supercharged Dontavian Wicks. In my opinion, he's really good at separating from space. He's not going to win by speed. He gets open from his route running. He's got some good lateral quickness. But honestly, we have Dontavian Wicks. And I think that we have enough guys that are going to, how should I say, like get open across the middle using holes in zone coverages. And I just feel like we have like 2 guys that do that already. So I'm a little out on Ibuka, but you're going to make me fall in love with him. So here you go.
I actually don't know if that's true. So, like I said, 6'1", 205 doesn't seem that big. I mean, that's a pretty good sized wide receiver, right? We're going to talk about some other wide receivers on this list that are more or less the same size. We're talking about like how they play big, play strong, whatever. It's not this guy's game. Ran a 4.45, which I think is better than most people expected. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of JSN comps. I don't think they're quite the same player after watching him again. They're not quite the same. JSN's a little more finesse, I feel like. Igbuka's a slot. I mean, he's a slot all day. That's what he played. He has the size to play outside. I don't necessarily know if the skill set would translate great playing outside. He does show, there's kind of like 2 almost contradictory things, but he shows really good late hands on some of the slot fade type stuff they did, or those crossers where there was a guy in his back pocket, but he showed his hands so late that he just bam flashed him, got the ball. Both the Rams wide receivers, right? Nakua and Cooper Kupp. Well, RIP Cooper Kupp a little bit, but they were both fantastic at that. So that's kind of an interesting skill set. I will say he was a little faster than I thought. There were a couple times watching him where either one of them for sure in the open field where he kind of like tucked his head and just sprinted, and there was an extra gear there I didn't think necessarily he had. Now, he can't get to that all the time, it seems. But there was a couple times where it's like all of a sudden you literally could see him put his head down, and then the corner or safety or whatever trying to track him down, just angle was gone. So not crazy speed, not consistent speed, but there's a little something more there than I thought originally that like JSN doesn't necessarily have. Now on the opposite side, he's not as quick in a short area as JSN, I think, which is interesting given his slot position. He does let the ball get into his body a little bit more than I would like, especially on a lot of those crossers. He either shows late hands or no hands. I don't love that necessarily. Like I said, he's not quite as quick as I anticipated being a slot guy. He's been around forever, super productive. However, for better or worse, he's always been wide receiver 2. So I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to carry a team as productive as he has been. Now, he's been surrounded by some of the best wide receivers in college football, right? With Marvin Harrison, and then their freshman this last year that was phenomenal. Will be a top 5 pick probably in a year or 2. But I'm not sure he's what we need exactly. Kind of like what you're saying. Don't necessarily know if he fills a hole. And if you don't fill an easy hole, I want you to be a dominant wide receiver if we're going to bother taking you in the top round or 2, right? I don't think he's dominant at really anything. I put kind of a little bit bigger, little less strong, little less explosive Amon-Ra St. Brown type of thing, which takes away a lot of his best traits, I understand, but similar mold, a little Josh Downsy, a little bit bigger, but he doesn't necessarily play to his size. So interesting guy. not a guy I think we're going to be super interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for someone here who's going to be able to attack the perimeter, who is going to be a force the defense is had to recognize, and that you're playing Russian roulette if you leave them in man coverage. And folks, the next two, I'm telling you, ooh, bring one of them home, man. And I'm not even saying I'm not even saying we need a wide receiver, right? Like, I know that I talk all that crap about, Don Tavian, and we were both, as all Packer Nation was not happy with the receivers' production, with the offense's production last year, especially in the passing game.
Yeah.
But I fully believe that we are going to get at minimum 2023 production from those boys. So while I agree we need to add a body to the room, receiver is not one of my top needs. That being said, for the purpose of the show where you had me go and watch film, these next two guys, I'm like, yeah, bring them home. Like, if one of them falls to us or works out in the second round, bring them home. Okay. It's really hard for me to say that for this first one. Number 5 player on our list, he's a rival of mine. Iowa State Cyclone. Ugh, cringe. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, Iowa State senior. 6'4", 215. My comp, throw it back a few years. I'm saying Malcolm Floyd of the Chargers.
Okay.
So he ran a 4.47 40-yard dash.
Much better than people thought.
He's got a little bit of a limited route tree. He's a little stiff, small yak ability. But I mean, he's just to go up and get it, right? 6'4", it speaks for itself. Decent enough speed. His RAS was apparently over 9, another big green flag for Packer picks. I just think that he's someone that if you put him in man coverage, no safety help, good luck. Big physical guy, good blocker. We need another. Need is strong. If we're going to take another receiver, I would prefer somebody with a bigger frame who can win outside, who you have to worry about. And I think this guy fits the bill.
Okay, that's fair. You hit on a lot of what I said. Going into it, I think a couple points for me is uses his body really well to shield defenders, especially in the red zone and end zone. Kind of the whole box out situation you hear people talk about. He's pretty good at that. He's got some build-up speed, kind of a long stride. It's going to take him a while to get there, but he does have some deep speed ability. And the 4.47, while people were super surprised looking back on it, I'm not crazy surprised. I probably would have put him at 4.5 or low 4.5s, but he ran way better than anticipated. And roughly the same size as Tet McMillan. I think he's maybe half an inch shorter, but ran a little faster. He is strong, absolutely. He's a strong dude. Good run blocker. Average quickness. There's not a lot there as far as quickness goes. You're right, not a ton of yak for kind of the exact same reason. He doesn't have great speed or quickness, so there's not going to be a ton of yak there. Kind of what I thought was interesting. A lot of body catches, and also a lot of like awkward jump catches, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but he would jump and then just like catch it in his stomach instead of just plucking it with his hands. Like there's a fair amount of weird things that went on there. Even in some of those jump ball situations, he would catch it, which is great. It just looked really weird doing it. They weren't like going up, mossing a guy, or just going up strong hands, plucking it out, bringing it down. They're like, go up, turn, kind of catch it with your body, shield the defender, bring it down. So I honestly, I didn't think about this necessarily when watching him, but he's got a little bit of like more souped up Lazard aspect, because Lazard was kind of the same way. He would catch it. It just frequently was pretty ugly when he would. And he didn't necessarily win a ton of jump balls. He'd win contested catches, not jump balls. And he has
Where did Alan Lazard go to school?
Iowa State, I'm aware. But he's got a little bit more speed, but not a ton, I would say. Because I think Lazard ran a 4.5, 4.6, somewhere in that range, which is more where people expected Higgins to be. Used pretty much exclusively at the second and third level because he doesn't have the quickness at the first level to take like a screen or something. You're not going to get a lot out of him with that. So used a lot as possession or kind of a deep fade type of situation. So interesting guy, the kind of guy we don't have. He's kind of him and Tet are similar molds, very different players, but similar molds, fill a similar need. I think they both, and Higgins could do a lot of the big slot type stuff too, which we don't necessarily need, but it's always good to have that versatility.
Think about having another Lazard, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say that we would probably agree to predict that Jaden Higgins has a higher ceiling than Alan Lazard did.
Mm-hmm.
But just
Absolutely.
what we could do with him, like you said, moving him into a big slot or his run blocking, just his overall physicality. You can also use it on bubble screens, right? Like if he's next to Jaden Reed, next to Dontavian Wicks, those are wonderful bubble screens. But then too, like when we had Alan Lazard, for points, we had Devontae, we had MVS, we had Big Bob. Like we had guys that if you're thinking about a vertical attack, like if we would have paused the game and said there's going to be a 40-yard touchdown to this person on the next play, Alan Lazard is not one of like the top names that you mention. But again, it's that physicality. It's that one-on-one. You think this guy's a little slower, you can take him, and And I remember that Alan Lazard didn't have always the prettiest plays, but I think there was nobody of those teams that could get me more hype offensively other than Josiah than Alan Lazard.
No, I think that's completely fair, and that's I'm the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm getting a little bit more souped up Lazard vibes. He's a little shorter than Lazard. Lazard was 6'5", but it could fill a very similar role, which is a lot of the Christian Watson when not going deep stuff at this point.
Yeah, I mean it's a big target, easy money for Jordan Love, baby.
Yeah. No, I like him a lot, and his combine definitely skyrocketed him up draft boards. At this point, he fits all of our criteria, size wise, speed wise, all that kind of stuff. So he'll definitely be in the mix. I'm not sure he'll be there in the second round anymore. I think when this whole process started, he would have been. At this point, I don't think he will be. Same with Ibuka.
Yeah, Steve Smith was saying on his he does a breakdown of all the guys, rookie wide receivers, and of course I'm going to listen to it because Steve Smith is a god. Like, ice up, son, psh, no doubt. And Steve Smith is like, yeah, Jaden Higgins. Apparently NFL executives were like reaching out to him, and I forgot who does the show with. It might be like Jesse Palmer, I think. Steve Smith, Jesse Palmer. They're like, can you guys like not do a show about Jaden Higgins? Because like I don't want people knowing. Like we're trying to keep him down low key. Is like, receiver work. 5, 6, whatever. Yeah, not going to work. I think Jaden Higgins is going to be a first round receiver. I completely agree with you there. But so if we're sitting in the second round, number 6 wide receiver on our list, I would call him Jack Beck if I didn't watch highlights, but I'm not an imbecile and I love this show. So his name is Jack Besh. 6'2", 214 out of TCU. He is a horned frog, folks. The comp I saw was Cedric Tillman, receiver for the Browns. He went to Tennessee, I believe.
I was really high on Cedric Tillman, if you remember when he came out. We talked about him leading up to the draft that year. I was a big Cedric Tillman fan.
Mm-hmm. So for Jack Besh, I wrote, he's not explosive. He isn't great at creating separation of itself. However, with his 6'2" frame, he has size, he has toughness. He's a go-up-and-get-it kind of guy. Honestly, he's very similar to Jaden Higgins, just like a little bit lesser version, but I'm kind of viewing him in the exact same way. His RAS was also over 9, and ding, 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 we know how our Packers love watching the Senior Bowl game.
That is true.
Yeah,
That's
Lucas, who was Senior Bowl MVP?
Our boy Jack.
Jack Besh. Listen, we saw what the Eagles did with 2 exciting whites. We're going to bring one home. Jack Besh, come to Green Bay. If you're there in the second round, I want you do a little something.
I love your enthusiasm, man. It's so interesting because I'm not a huge fan necessarily. I really want to be. I really do, especially seeing, white dude running down the field in purple in college. Like, I want him to be Jordy, and maybe that I'm just disappointed that he's clearly not Jordy. Different school, same color jerseys. So yeah, he's got good size. If I remember right, at some point he was a tight end that kind of moved to wide receiver, which makes a lot of sense when you watch him. does not have elite anything, maybe? Really?
Yeah, no. He is elite at nothing.
Yeah, which I'm kind of formulating my thoughts and my preferences on wide receivers, especially going into this draft and what I personally like, not necessarily what the Packers like. And I like people to be elite at something, have a translatable skill I feel will work easily at the next level. It doesn't always work that way, I understand. But John Ross, elite speed, did nothing, right? There's more to it than that. But possession receiver, it feels like he's going to be better than I think he's going to be, if that makes sense. Strong hands, super tough, hard to bring down. Still not a ton of yak necessarily. He's bouncing off people. Safety's coming up trying to lay a hit, and he'll bounce off. He's just not going to do a ton after that necessarily. This feels, okay, so when I was watching him, the main thing I kept thinking of was like, this dude's definitely getting drafted by the Rams. 100%. He plays like
You're
that
thinking
mold.
he's like Skoranek the Chronic?
Well, he's like Skoranek and Nakua a little bit and Kupp a little bit, where none of them were really great at a ton, but they were all roughly that size, didn't have elite speed, had decent quickness, possession receivers, and they catch everything. They get 1,000,000 yards. They really annoy you, and you don't know why. Elite route running and everything that goes into it. So I think that's kind of the direction he goes. It was just the vibe I was getting. I'm like, this dude's 100% getting drafted by the Rams and really going to annoy me in 2 years.
Or if it was mid-2010s, Patriots for sure.
For sure, before they forgot how to deal with wide receivers. But yeah, good speed, or not good speed, but good size, decent speed, decent quickness, can find the hole in the zone, good at contested catches. Will hang in there when getting smacked by a linebacker or safety. You're not going to use him at the first level. He's definitely going to be a second level, maybe a third. I don't know if the third level stuff translates as well to the NFL. That'd be my worry a little bit with him. But apparently a great dude. He's got a great story because his brother died in the New Orleans car stuff that happened on New Year's Day, I believe. So rooting for the guy. Absolutely rooting for the guy. Like I said, I think I may just be biased because when I turned him on, I wanted him to be Jordy, and he just doesn't have that in him. It's not his fault. He's just not. So overall, good receiver. I wouldn't be upset. I don't necessarily feel like he is great at what the Packers need him to be great at.
That's fair. That's fair, sir.
I'm going to be wrong on him, and it's going to bug me, but that's okay.
I mean, you already admitted you're wrong, so how wrong are you?
Fair enough.
All right, for this bottom four, it's a little bare bones, so you're going to be leading the charge here.
That's okay, because two of my favorite are coming up.
Oh, yeah, so I got my thunder out, now it's your turn. Perfecto. Jalen Royals.
Yep.
Jalen Royals. Wide receiver out of
Utah State.
Utah State, baby. Jordan Love, that connection. I mean, that could be a little something.
Go Aggies.
6'0", 205. Go Aggies. Fun fact, he played at Georgia Military School.
Oh, that's fun.
So he's probably got a little bit of route discipline, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I like it.
He's not super explosive. He's got good body control and runs good routes. That's what I got. Tell me more.
Okay. Well, this is pretty easy to me. In your mind, okay? Picture Jaden Reed without the deep ball and a little bit bigger. Okay, that's it. That's the report. I really like Jalen Royals. I really do. They used him a ton, kind of first level, not a ton third level, a little bit, but the route running is okay, but I think he's another one of those guys where you're going to need to see more of a route tree at the next level because they just did what they could to get him the football. Great on screens, great in the short area, good quickness, strong because he's got some decent size to him. That's where he's a little bit bigger than Jaden Reed. I don't necessarily know if I see him playing outside a ton necessarily. I don't know if he's like an X receiver type of vibe coming off him, but dude's got some juice. I feel like he didn't run crazy fast. He ran like a 4.4 or something. He's got good speed, good quickness. He's one of those guys where the first guy is gonna have a bad time trying to tackle him. He threw some stiff arms, which for his size was pretty impressive. He's got some make you miss in a phone booth type stuff. I really liked him as kind of a pseudo Jaden Reed. I understand that we don't necessarily need another Jaden Reed, but I mean, 2 would be fun.
Ding, 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 ding. The more you started talking about him, which, by the way, I love your analysis. You're excellent. We should do a show one day. What do you think? Good idea.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
let's think about it.
But we already have Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks kind of works in the same way. Not we want him like having bubble screens or whatnot, but you want him to working in that first or second level. He's not going to be a great blocker, whereas like at least Jack Besh, if you have him out there, like Bish and Eggins are bigger bodies. They can help you out in the bubble screen game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need somebody to try to do what Jaden Reed does, who doesn't do it as good. Dontavian Wicks also kind of doesn't. And hell, Bo Melton, and oh, by the way, didn't we add that McCole Hardman guy? Like, I'm good on the underneath receiver who can make people miss. I have like 3 to 4. Thank you, but I appreciate your analysis.
I mean, that's kind of Luther Burden too, my man.
But we talked about Luther Burden. He was in this stupid Mizzou offense. I think that he has more of an upside in the vertical game.
Agreed. I don't necessarily think Jalen Royals doesn't have that upside. I mean, look at their size, right? They're very similar sized, almost exactly. They ran very similar 40s. I think he's kind of a discount version. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that. But if you're Utah State, you don't necessarily have a ton of playmakers every year, right? What are you going to do with Jalen Royals? But not anymore because Jay Love's on the Packers. But like you're going to get that guy the ball any way you can, right? So I think he could be fun at the next level. I think some of that stuff's going to translate. I do like him, especially given where he's at on the board. I think that's a pretty good value. Give me playmakers, man. Give me people that are going to do something with the football.
Mr. Mueller, I hope you're happy listening because Luke and I disagreed. And you said we never do that, but here we are yet again.
Here we are.
So, number 8.
The only guy on this list the Packers will not draft.
The name's
sure.
Bond. Isaiah Bond. Which I had to write down like 4 times because I spelled Isaiah wrong. It's a weird spelling, too. A lot of A's in Isaiah.
2 I's, 2 A's.
Is that how it's always spelled? Like Mr. Emmanuel Lutheran childhood? Like, is that right? Is that like, not right, but is that like Bible spelling of Isaiah or is that different?
I don't remember, honestly.
I
It
think
is
it's
one
different.
of the 2 main ways to spell Isaiah. Anyways, move on.
I felt like I had an idea to spell it, and I was writing it down, and I'm like, well, there's so many vowels. All right. Isaiah Bond. 4.93 40-yard dash. Pro comp. Jalen Waddle.
Nah, okay.
He kind of fast. He a little bit of a deep threat. Like I said, the Texas boys, the deep threats, they fast. Quinn Ewers ain't great at the deep ball. Like, imagine how much greater their production would have been if he actually could hit on those home run balls.
True.
But I'll let you take over.
Okay, so 4.39 40 speed. I think the entire world expected him and Golden, who's 4.29, 40 times to be flipped. I think that was the expectation. Bond was going to run 4.2s. Golden was going to run 4.3s. That's kind of where we're at. So this dude's too little. Like, we don't take wide receivers this size, this light. He's what, 5'11", 180? Like, the 180 is the problem. We don't take guys under like 195, 190.
They
Maybe.
get popped.
Yeah, we don't take Xavier Worthy. He's just not on the board, right? Now, I think Isaiah Bond's interesting. He had a little bit more toughness and possession ability than I anticipated, potentially. They did run him on some slants where he kind of had to make some contested catches and play through contact a little bit, and things went pretty well. They used him a lot, and this is kind of where some of the Jalen Waddle stuff falls apart a little bit for me. And maybe this is mostly just watching him on the Dolphins, but I don't remember his the college days quite as much, but a ton of sweeps and reverses and screens and all that kind of stuff. And he's got the same, it's not the same level, clearly, because he didn't show it at the 40. And I think on tape it's not quite there, but he's got like a looseness to his speed, which is a very weird way to describe this. But Jameson Williams has this as well, where they run really loose, right? Like, so the opposite end of that would be MVS. did not run loose, right? Relatively compact. The limbs are staying kind of tucked, and dude's sprinting, right? Very fast. There's multiple ways to get there, but Jameson Williams, he's kind of flapping around a little bit out there. But it's very loose, very relaxed speed. Isaiah Bond has that. Not to that level. Absolutely not to that level. He's probably a gear below that. Dude's got speed. Like, he's a deep threat. The 4.39 is, I think, slower than what he shows, because he'll just run away from people on jet sweeps and stuff. But I think he's going to be utilized a lot more like Jameson Williams and Xavier Worthy, honestly, when it comes to the pros. I think he's that kind of receiver. He doesn't have the elite historic speed of those two, right? Like I said, he's a little bit below, but I think that's how he's going to be utilized. But a little bit more all three levelness than I anticipated. He had a little bit more in the second level than I expected. Like I said, a little stronger hands, a little bit better possession type stuff. But yeah, we're not going to draft this guy. It's not going to happen.
No way. 5'11", 180, you get popped, you're done. We're good.
Yeah, we don't take guys like that. Not saying that he would fix the speed problem, absolutely. But yeah, not a Packers type. But I came away liking him more than I anticipated liking him.
I was just going to say, in order to fix the speed part, you have to be on the field and not in the hospital.
True.
Just throwing that out there. Just saying, man. You know,
Fair.
we get cute. We try to use him on a jet sweep, and Luke Musgrave misses his block, and he gets popped by an outside linebacker. It's game over. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, the 10 pounds that separate him and Golden make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. To Trey Harris, wide receiver.
Interesting.
Out of Mississippi.
Interesting guy.
Senior. 6'2", 205.
Good
From
size.
what I have surmised, his stock has dropped considerably over the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
He was not aided in that by the fact that he ran a 4.54 40-yard dash.
Correct.
He's also had a history of injuries. I saw some scouts saying that he's a nice size speed combo, but how much speed are we talking about if you're on a 4.54? And despite his size, he is not the best in contested catches.
Yeah, that's fair. I think, and kind of what I said earlier about Tet McMillan, Trey Harris beats people deep. Tet McMillan doesn't, right? And they run essentially the same 40 within 0.01 of each other. So Trey Harris definitely tested slower than he plays. I think he has actually decent to good build-up long speed. It's going to take him a little bit to get there, but he will get there, right? Higgins tested faster than him. I don't necessarily know if Higgins is faster than him. I think Trey Harris may have a little bit more deep threat ability there. Strong dude. He's a strong receiver and shows it. He's pretty much exclusively at the second and third level because he doesn't have great quickness. So you're not using him on screens and little out routes and stuff like that. He's a little bit of a deep threat. And he's got some yak to him due to strength and speed, not to shimmy. Some stiff arms, some kind of running through tackles type situation. Prototypical X receiver again. I think you lump him in. He's not the same player, but you lump him in with the Higgins and the McMillan, where they predominantly kind of outside guys. I don't see Harris playing slot pretty much ever, though. I don't see it necessarily. I think I was hoping, this is obviously some college bias here a little bit, but I was hoping he'd end up somewhere in the A.J. Brown realm, kind of A.J. Brown light, and he just didn't quite get there. And now A.J. Brown light, coming out of college, was Traylon Burks, if you remember, who Tennessee picked and has been a total bust.
Yeah, one of us thought he was going to be something.
So I think he's going to be better than Traylon Burks, but kind of a similar bigger guy, although Trey Harris is smaller than I keep thinking he is. He only weighs 210-ish, right, somewhere in that realm.
I have him at 205, which is about the same size as Jalen Royals.
Which they're not, right? Like that, they don't play those are two very different archetype of wide receivers there, so that's super interesting. kind of when I was trying to figure out who does he kind of remind me of, I think he's got a little Alec Pierce, a little bit, I think. Where I think...
Did I say that was the comp that I was reading? Because I have that written down.
Oh,
Alec Pierce for Trey Harris.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
My bad.
Yeah.
Well done.
I see some Alec Pierce who I liked coming out, partially because he's from Illinois. But another one that
only partially.
Another one that was interesting was a little Michael Gallup. That's not a bad player. I kind of like that. He's not going to be your
Michael Gallup is fine. Yeah, he's fine. He was fine.
You need
he beat the Bears, right? Didn't he, on that Hail Mary?
He did. So a little more Cowboys talk than I'm comfortable with. Michael Gallup's okay as long as you have CeeDee Lamb or Des Bryant, right? Like, you need the guy, and then he'll be a good outside second guy. Especially, I read this somewhere, and it makes perfect sense to me. He's great if your best wide receiver is a slot. I can see that.
Which, going into week 1, that is true for us. I'm not pounding the table for Trey Harris, but I would say Jane Reed is the best receiver we have with Christian Watson being hurt.
Yeah, I would say so. So, interesting guy. He's definitely been falling down. I've seen him everywhere from there for a while. He was back into round 1 to round 3. He's kind of, I have no idea where he's going to end up. Because he didn't test quite as well as people hoped, and he doesn't actually bring a ton else to the table besides having good size and good theoretical deep threat ability. Now, he did get behind defenses quite a bit at Ole Miss, and Jackson Dart threw some darts to him, without a doubt, but...
Zing.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, not quite the... I just really, once again, I went in wanting him to be A.J. Brown, and it just wasn't there, but that's okay. Doesn't mean he's not a good
Number
player.
10's going to be a quick one.
You think it's going to be a quick one. This is my other guy.
I'm sorry, do you look at different websites? Because I have Ty Felton, receiver out of Maryland.
Yeah.
6'1", 183.
Yeah, I don't love
Rewind. Isaiah Bond, 5'11", 180. Rewind to Luke. There's no way we take him. He's not in our frame. This is the only player that we know for sure will not be drafted by the Packers. You said that like 12 minutes ago.
Did I say the Packers were going to take Felton?
My sheet of notes, 6'1", 183. Bond is 5'11", 180. That's 2 inches and he weighs 3 more pounds? Yeah. He is Slender Man. He is often bullied at the catch point. I think that whoever is looking at Ty Felton needs to realize that there is no such thing as a 50-50 ball. There is a 5.95.
I didn't say the Packers were going to take him. I just said I like him. I think he's a really good football player, man. I think he's a really good football player. If we were going to break the weight thing, I'd probably break it for him versus Bond. I don't know. Dude is an athlete. Okay, so here's some of his combine results. Because part of the problem, let me get on a high horse for a second, with the RAS stuff, the RAS stuff right now is people are only testing what they're good at. No one's doing the full gambit of workouts anymore. So yeah, you may have a great RAS, but you did none of the agility drills, or you didn't bench, or whatever, right? So you're just skewing to things that you know you're good at, which kind of defeats a little bit of the purpose. Anyways, just tell me if these numbers are good, okay? That's all you got to do. 4.37, 40-yard dash. Okay, 1.51, 10-yard split. Dude's moving. 39.5-foot vertical, 39.5-inch vertical. 10.10 broad jump. That is elite athlete. And unlike some other people, that's what shows up on tape. This dude can fly. The first guy does not have a chance at him, ever. He's got great speed. He's got a stiff arm. He weighs 183 pounds, and dude's stiff-arming people down the field. Like, I really like him. Like, this would be for sure one of my guys. I think he has decent hands. Yeah, he's not going to be a contested catch guy. He's not going to go moss people. It's not his game. He is pretty slender, but he's not crazy skinny. He doesn't look crazy skinny on tape. I wouldn't put him any skinnier than MVS.
You've been saying a lot about Rainey tonight. Be careful.
I'm just saying
careful.
I'm just saying visually. And I like that he's got some height to him. I like a little bit of the height aspect. One of the things that I wrote down was, you watch him, you think he's 5'10", 5'9", the way he plays. In a good way.
Are you talking because of his movement?
Yes.
Like,
he
because
moves
he just looks
like
agile and squirrely?
He moves like someone much smaller than him. But he flies in the open field. I really like this dude. We're not going to take him. I understand. I've seen him a little bit all over between third, fourth, maybe second, but a lot of third, fourth round stuff. Man, this dude's good. This dude is a good football player. I believe in this guy. Maryland's not good at football. This dude is good at football. And the athleticism shows up on tape every single play. I understand. Devin's giving me this look right now. This guy's great.
You have to be on the field to help your team. I think he's going to get popped.
Yeah, I could see.
I just think he's going to get popped.
I could see that. I get that he's all the bullied at catch point, not strong. I understand. I get it, man. I do. But I want that playmaking ability. I want someone that's got the juice. This dude's got the juice.
He will be on your first Madden roster with these draft classes. I
1,000%
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
1,000%.
I appreciate that. All right, so we finished up our top 10 wide receiver prospects.
And we finished it
the next question
with a little spice there at the end with not agreeing with some of them. I love that.
Here to please, sir. Here to please. Let me ask you this next question.
Yeah.
So just looking at the whole 10, any one of them, what is right now in your heart of hearts, what is your percent chance that we draft one of the 10?
Oh, one of the 10. I would put it at probably 60%, maybe. I think.
I was going to say around 60.
I think there's a couple people a little bit later in the draft that they could find interesting that are falling or not thought of very highly that kind of fit some of their molds. I think there's one guy there's an MVS in this draft class 100%. I'm not going to say his name because I'm saving it for the mock draft, hopefully, because I'm taking him in a lot of my practice ones where he's he's plug and play MVS. He may never be more than that, but I think he will be that in the NFL. But so I think there's some guys a little bit further down that could do something, including Jack Besh's running mate at TCU. But there's a pretty good chance. And we didn't talk about, obviously, because he wasn't ranked high enough, Alec Ayome. Oh, God, the Stanford kid. I could see us taking him.
I've seen him linked to us, too.
Yeah, Torrey Horton, I could see some of those guys. This guy from Arkansas that could be really fun. That kind of meet a lot of criteria. Hair. He's got great hair.
He's another Besh type, if you get what I'm saying.
He's fast, though. Anyways, so I like 60%. I would not be shocked if they take a wide receiver in the first. Basically, we're saying in the first 3 rounds. These guys should all be gone in the first 3 rounds. So, 60%. I'm comfortable with that.
Just on this whole track of me being angry at small receivers, do you want Jimmy Horn, too?
I absolutely do not want Jimmy Horn.
He's like, what, 5'7", 5'8"?
Yeah, he's tiny.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
So's the Miami
145.
kid. That Miami kid, too.
Restrepo?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that name everywhere.
We're not taking him either. It's not happening.
No, we need some run blockers for sure.
And if you thought that Felton was skinny, just remember Tez Johnson's out there at 5'10", 154. So that is a child weight.
Tez Johnson?
Oregon deep threat.
Wait. 5'4"?
5'10", 154.
Okay. But 5'10", 154. Bro, that... Yikes.
I know.
Yikes. Like, if it's cover 1 and the safety's gone to the other side, you still can't throw it because if he just, breathes enough, he's going to get popped at that weight, honestly.
I will say just kind of my overall my overall thoughts on this entire wide receiver draft class is like there's a lot more this year that fit our criteria. When the last couple of years that wasn't the case necessarily. Not a lot of people. There were a lot of short guys. Not a lot of short guys. There's some good size to this draft class, which I think gives us plenty of options, which we'll find out in a couple weeks.
Let me piggyback off that first question, though. So you said 60% chance that we draft one of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Without picking who it would be, would you feel confident if we picked one of these receivers in the first round?
There's only 2 or 3.
Would you be happy with that pick?
I wouldn't love it. One of my thoughts going into this was kind of all the years to take a first round wide receiver, I don't think this is the one. I don't. There's maybe one guy I'd be happy with at 23 that I'd feel confident in. I don't. I'm fine taking one in the second.
I mean, I got one in the first round that if he's there at 23, I might just pull that trigger. But, I mean, you obviously got Jack Bash, who's supposed to go like third, fourth round is what I've seen, depending on where you're looking. But I've also seen a few of those guys, like you said, later round guys we can take a flyer shot on and see what we can get. I'm not as nearly distraught as I've said on the show with the receiver room in Green Bay going into the season. So I don't necessarily think that we need to go take a first or even second round wide receiver. But if it's a couple of these names on this list or some other boys that you mentioned, be pretty hype.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be great to see what we do.
I'm excited. Only a couple more weeks.
And next week will be the best episode of our show every season historically. We're going to be back for the 2025 mock draft.
I'm excited, man.
Amen, brother. Can't wait. Alrighty, folks. Until next time.
Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.